Hey, welcome back, BVC fans. As always, I'm Bobby the Bot.
And I'm James the Con.
And today we're back with a special engagement with you. We're going to be talking about the TF1 movie, or Transformers 1 movie. We both got a chance to see it yesterday, a sneak preview. And we're going to come with our thoughts on the movie, also some spoilers, but we'll give you plenty of time to log off before we talk about that. But we'll just kind of give our opinions about it and see what you guys think.
Before we get into it, I do want to say that these are opinions, so don't get too offended if Bobby really likes the movie or I really hate the movie. We'll have to see how it plays out. We haven't really talked about it, and we've done that on purpose. So let us know your opinion, though, in the comments. We'd love to hear it. Also, as always, a big shout out to the Chosen Prime for sponsoring this channel and all of our members. We really appreciate you sticking with us.
Yes, definitely. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Transformers 1. I figured what we should probably do is talk about what our thoughts were, I guess, using a scale of 1 to 10, what we thought about the movie prior to, and then we'll kind of talk about what grade we would give it after we saw it. So, James, you want to start off?
Sure. So originally, I would probably give it a 6. I thought it was going to be very interesting, unique, but I didn't like the direction they were going in with a few of the, I don't want to say weird elements, but like them not transforming and stuff. That gave me a little bit of hesitation. The art style also wasn't my favorite, so I was giving it a 6 before I saw it. Now, what was yours before you went in?
Well, yours is actually really high. I was giving it a 4.5, 4 or 5, so I'm gonna say 4.5. I didn't like the human faces, and I'm not used to. I understand it's part of it. I just wasn't ready for Prime and Megatron to be friends, and so that was still kind of throwing me that it was a buddy movie. Understanding totally what happens, and that's what actually had me anxious for it. But I was also kind of thinking, all right, is this going to be a good Transformers movie? Key on Transformers, or is this just going to be an animated movie and they have some Transformers in there that we're familiar with?
Yeah. So what would you rate it after seeing it?
After seeing it, I gave it a 7 or 8. Oops, definitely need to turn that off. And I must admit, and not due to the movie, but I did fall asleep for about 15 minutes. I had a very early day. Daughter had a game at 9:30 in the morning. I was beat, so I did fall asleep for about 15 minutes. But everything I saw leading up to it was actually good. Everything I saw after I woke up was actually good. So I don't think those 10 or 15 minutes did it anything bad. The reason I gave it actually, I'm gonna go with an 8. I'm gonna give it a solid 8, and I'll go into why after you give your rating.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 2.
Wow.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Honestly, I had a lot of fun in the cinema. I honestly give it like, I was toiling over it in my head on what I would give it, and then I realized this is all arbitrary, and I could give it whatever I want. So I give it an 8.75. Okay. I had a great time. The movie was a lot of fun. There are parts of it that I was about, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but I think this is probably the best Transformer movie that I've seen in theaters. The 1980s movie isn't in there because I wasn't alive to see it in theaters.
You weren't here.
Exactly. So in theaters, this is the best one. I had the most fun out of any of the Transformers movies. And I don't, if you watched our channel, I don't think that's much of a surprise. I really enjoyed it. And if you haven't seen it, and when it comes out, I highly recommend that you see it.
Wow, that is very surprising. So the reason I liked it was there was some comedy in it. I laughed a lot. And it had some parts where you had to kind of, like think about it a little bit. It's like, okay, I see where you're going with that. It wasn't too kiddie. I was able to see a lot of the characters that I'm familiar with. I saw Jazz and I saw Sideswipe and Ironhide and you know, all these bots. Saw Decepticons and I was just like, oh, I know who that is, you know, or whatever. And it was just kind of cool seeing them from their early years, I guess you can say. The voices were good. I think that they did really well on that. The scenes were good. It was enough action to keep you moving and going. And even if it wasn't necessarily a fight scene per se, it was still some type of action going on that kept the movie going. And I couldn't really tell where the plot was going scene by scene. You know, like a lot of movies are like, okay, they're going to do this, and then here we go. Then this is going to happen. And it kind of kept me surprised a little bit there.
I have to agree with everything that you said, especially with the characters. It was really cool seeing all of these not old, but the classic characters that you expect to see. And, you know, I went with my dad and we were picking them out and we're like, oh, that's Sideswipe, that's Jazz. Oh, Hound just walks right by and doesn't even say anything. And it was cool that they didn't say anything and they didn't explicitly state this is X, Y, and Z, because it felt like you're walking into your childhood home that you've always been at. And it was really cool to start the story that way, which I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler, but not really. And it was really, really cool for that. And there's a few motifs that I'll talk about in a little bit. So I think we're just going to get into the spoilers now. It hasn't been that long, but we're just going to do it. So we're going to give you guys 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we could talk about spoilers as much as they want. And I wanted to talk about these cogless Transformers because I thought it was a really cool visual aid that they didn't have to explain because their chests were empty. So while they said it couldn't let them transform, you were able to distinguish who was who. And I thought that was so smart on the director or the art designer. I don't know who decided that. It was really cool. And then to have their cogs stolen by Sentinel Prime, completely forgive them for making them not be able to transform. That was an amazing twist. It was great. I do wish, I don't know if you've got this, I wish I didn't watch the fan stream because they said it's Sentinel Prime. Everybody knows who Sentinel Prime is. And when I don't know who he is, the guy with the glasses, the moment he said that, I'm like, he's the villain. I knew right when he said that, I know he was spoiling it that guy was the villain. And I went in knowing that, and I wish I didn't. So that guy with the glasses that do studio series, shame on you.
So I did not catch that, and I actually had no idea who Sentinel Prime was. And I knew the name of Sentinel Prime, but I had no idea of his backstory or anything like that. So
I think they completely made it up. This is new.
Everything was kind of like, okay, you know, the parts that got me was, I think, let me talk about what I didn't like.
Okay, well, let's do that for negatives first and then positives.
Okay, negatives first?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's just do the negatives, get those out of the way, and then we'll gush about it.
Yeah, so I didn't like how it seemed like they made Orion Pax a spitting image of Hot Rod from the 86 movie. And Megatron was kind of like Cup from the 86 movie. It was like, you know, Orion Pax was like this, you know, daredevil and trying to do this and trying to do that. And it didn't give me an original vibe for what in my mind I thought Orion Pax was. Watching the cartoon as a kid and seeing Orion Pax as a dock worker or whatever who kind of looked up to the Decepticons because they were able to fly and stuff like that. Like he seemed more innocent in that, and that's, as an old head, that's what I kind of looked at. Whereas in this, he was just like almost a troublemaker, you know. Got into a lot of it, you know, constantly. Everybody knew him for getting into stuff, and that was too similar to Hot Rod, and I didn't like that aspect of it. Megatron, I think they really dove into how he was kind of a rule follower and this, that, and the other. And his heart, his soul was broken when he felt like he was lied to and he felt betrayed. And that's why he went to the dark side, you know, to call it. it was, again, something I didn't necessarily think of. I mean, if we go back to Megatron being a gladiator and kind of all this and this, you know, I didn't get that from this movie. So this felt like their own telling of Transformers from their own whatever thought process.
It definitely was. It was they wanted to create something completely new. I would have honestly liked it if Megatron and Optimus switched roles in the beginning up until they find out the truth. I think it would have been more cool if Megatron was like the reckless type of one, and Optimus was more of the reserved, like, I don't want to do this type of one, because then it would have made Optimus be like, okay, now I have to step in. Yes. Instead of Megatron just losing it, which he should have. I thought it was really cool, his descent into madness, and how his eyes went from bright yellow and they slowly turned to red. That was very cool. But I do think they should have flipped their things. It would have been also really cool to start off with Megatron instead of Optimus sneaking into it, just as a twist on Transformers as a whole. You know what I mean? But I get what they were going for, and it worked out. It did work out. I mean, I can rewrite it from the back seat, and it might not have made any sense. But, you know, just what I'm thinking. Let's talk about the other two characters. Alita, we didn't get much personality from. She was cool, and I think it has to do with her voice actress. Because if you notice, she wasn't in any of the marketing material except for like one commercial. So I wonder if she's too expensive. Literally. But I still think they did a good job with her. She was kind of one note the whole movie. I guess she was more grumpy with them in the beginning and then gets less grumpy as it goes on. But there wasn't much of a difference. Bumblebee, I hated. He was so annoying, he wasn't even funny. When you first interact with him, I was like, I'm done. I'm over this. But it seemed like with him, they were ramping up the jokes. They had to introduce the jokes where they were boring and not childish in the beginning to make them, the punchline was an hour into the movie. Like the Badassatron line. When he did it at the very end, that was actually funny. When he goes and he kills the two trash bots by accident, that was funny. But when you first introduced it to him, I was like, this is too much. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
So I actually kind of liked it at the end, but I still think he was too annoying. I don't see B as being annoying. And I did think it was hilarious how the High Guard was, and they're like, why'd you tape his mouth shut even when he was knocked out? Oh, you might have been asleep during that time.
I was asleep.
So I'll just say it. So Bumblebee, they all wake up after being knocked out, and Bumblebee's the only one with a tape on his mouth. And Alita's like, why did you tape his mouth? He's knocked out. And Soundwave goes, he's even more annoying when he's especially loud when he's knocked out, or something like that.
That's funny.
And it was actually really funny. And I was like, okay, they're making fun of this character. I do think another character could have been better in that position than Bumblebee. Honestly, didn't make much sense to me. But I think they did fine with it. You know. They also don't give him the name Bumblebee throughout the whole movie.
Nope, just B, if anything, B. I agree with you. I thought he was pretty annoying at the beginning, but I think they also built up why. Being that he's been alone for however long and talking to himself and everything. I mean, I'm sure if you know, anybody who's been alone for however long, it made me think of Tom Hanks in that where he was stranded on the island and he was talking to the basketball Wilson, you know, and having conversations and think, what's that?
It was a volleyball.
No, it was a basketball.
No, it was a volleyball.
Oh, it was a ball. Okay, maybe it was a volleyball. Okay, yeah. I was thinking, you know, basketball is probably Spalding, so yeah, it probably was a volleyball. But yeah, just that, you know, him creating this own characters and talking about to himself. Alita 1 surprised me because she was so militant and so, you know, again, not who I thought of Alita 1 being. Again, she was kind of a love interest of Prime when I was a kid. So that's how I thought they were going to have like a you know, flirty type of relationship where maybe he was flirting and she would turn him down or whatever. But you know, I don't see how they got together except for the probably that, you know, as he became Prime, she started respecting him more or something like that. But yeah, I didn't really care for her character too much. Um, I thought B was annoying but funny, annoying, and I again I agree with you on the Badassatron at the end. I really liked Megatron's character and the development of his badness, even though, like I mentioned, I didn't like that he was kind of the rule follower, but he seems so stringent and so, you know, OCD in essence. If you put something out of place, it just threw him off, and so his whole world got thrown off. And we, you know, Sentinel Prime, that was something that I didn't really care for. This is the part of the movie that kind of threw me, because it wasn't a Transformer movie. It was like a Disney movie. It was like any type of, you know, whatever, Pixar, whatever. You have the villain who you think is a nice guy and this, that, and the other, is very friendly to you and, you know, is willing to do this and do that. And then, you know, you find out that he's the bad guy. You know, it was like the same kind of twist from all those types of movies. I didn't know for sure he was going to be the bad guy, but then because of how nice he was and this, that, and the other, I was just like, oh, he's probably, something's going to happen, you know, and that kind of, you know, threw me off from it being Transformers to just any type of movie.
No, I can see where you're saying with that, but at the same time, I thought it worked. Taking myself out of what we know about Transformers, it doesn't make sense that the Primes were still there, blah, blah, blah. But I did like how Sentinel Prime, I liked his character. I thought he did a good job. And there isn't really a villain, per se, for this movie. So it makes more sense for them to do it with Sentinel Prime. Somebody that they could rip in half and the audience wouldn't really shed a tear for. I do think, I wish he was orange and gold instead of blue and gold, because the original Sentinel Prime from the comics was orange. That I remember. If there could have been an earlier iteration of that character that I don't know about that was blue and gold, but in my mind, it would have been better if he was orange and gold. But let's take a moment to talk about Arachnid. Somebody needs to make a figure of that, because that was, she looked awesome in this movie. Very obscure. No, I guess it's obscure in the scheme of Transformers. I didn't understand why her head opened up to eyeballs.
I thought
that was
cool.
Weird.
I thought that was so cool.
Was
how
really
she was like
cool,
looking at you, but seeing back there.
But I really liked her character. I'm glad to see somebody like that. And anything else about Arachnid before I move on to?
I just thought Arachnid was cool. Like I said,
it was cool all around, right?
Her eyes, when the head opened up and you saw all the eyes and she could see so far, and I thought that was really cool.
Well, it was so cool when you first see her too, and she goes like this and turns her head, and all the eyes on the side also, you know, look at them. So I do wish, well, maybe I was gonna say it'd be cool if she was more of a hunter, because she was always like a bounty hunter in Prime, from what I remember. And I wish she kind of had more of that, but I understand they probably needed a character that they can mold. So they picked somebody without a lot of background, because people would have been mad if it was Black Arachnia, me included. You know, that type of thing. So I get it. Do you want a figure of her? Would you buy one?
I would.
Yeah, me too.
And I must say that after watching this movie and seeing how the characters looked in the movie, we've been kind of hard on some of the Hasbro and YOLO Park and various other versions of it. Now that I see what they look like in the movie, they are very good representations with the long legs and the skinny and the short torsos. So I may pick up one or two.
Yeah, I'm definitely not picking up Sentinel Prime, because even looking at him in the movie, I didn't like his proportions. I didn't like how short I just it doesn't do it for me. Arachnid, if they do a Voyager, I'd be picking that up. I really want a toy of Darkwing. That design was really cool. I really liked that. But let's talk about some Decepticons now. I also loved, it's kind of a twist, but not really, that they were the High Guard that was like the, you know, with the Primes. And I love that there was Slipstream. Slipstream was like in more of the movie than a lot of the Autobots. So I was very happy to see that.
I thought about you when I saw that.
But I really liked that. I also, let's talk about the separate characters in a little bit. But I loved the fact that there was a reason why all these guys were together and why they were a little bit more rough and tumble than the other guys, is they were the soldiers of Cybertron that were left behind to fend for themselves. So yeah, they're going to be a little bit more violent, a little bit more, you know, in your face. And I thought that was really cool. Again, not a big fan of Soundwave's design because his torso's like this and he has gangly limbs, but he was okay. Any thoughts on Soundwave? Let's just go through all of these characters really quick.
Well, being that I kind of woke up when
wide-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, and it's my daughter's fault because she fell asleep on my arm and wanted me to hold her and snuggle, and then I kind of like, you know,
blame it on somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. But so when I did see Soundwave, I actually liked the way he looked, and I liked his alt mode when he transformed. I thought that was really cool. I liked Starscream for a brief second, and then he started being like the sniveling little whatever that, you know. So it was just like some of these personalities held true. What surprised me about was, and I didn't think you would like it, I know from talking with you and doing this channel, you always looked at the Decepticons as like the warriors, so that holds true. But like they were fighting the elitists who were the Autobots, and in this movie, it seemed like the Autobots were like the lowest. You know, they were the miners and everything like that. And now you have this High Guard. So I thought you would not like that aspect of it.
No, honestly, that didn't cross my mind at all, because not all of the Autobots were miners. Blur was racing in Velocitron. There was a whole bunch of other people that were transforming transforming characters that were not miners. It was just the core Autobots that we know, but that makes sense. You're right. I don't like the fact that Orion Pax was a miner. I like him more as a data clerk or a dock worker or whatever, but I like him as a data clerk. That makes sense for me. But as what they did, I was okay with that. And honestly, I still feel like the Decepticons are going against the corrupt government, you know, and they feel like that obviously with Megatron, which we'll get to the ending in a little bit. It makes sense, you know, what they're doing. Did you notice two things? Did you hear Soundwave say Soundwave eject? Or
yes.
High Guard eject? That was really cool. Yes. Little thing. And did you notice that Starscream has a high-pitched voice because Megatron crushed his voice box?
I did not notice that part.
So he crushes the voice back and strangles him, and he has kind of a lower voice before, and then when he's like with his hands behind his back, he has a high-pitched, normal Starscream voice. I loved that little aspect, that one of Starscream's main things has always been his nasally, you know, irritating voice, and he has that from the first time Megatron and him got into a fight, and they're still fighting all the way in 1984. You know, so I thought that was a really, really cool little thing. They did a lot of little things like that I really appreciate. Yeah, I really liked what they did with the Decepticons and the Autobots in this movie. I get it's a different type of thing, but it works, you know, especially with both the Autobots and the Decepticons having to fight the power, so to be, and one of them becomes the power, and now who's fighting them now? You know what I mean? I thought that was really cool.
Well, yeah, and you know, let's talk about the primes, you know.
Okay.
I wanted to, I was hoping that we would have got more info about the primes versus them, you know, like I would have loved to see the story of them going to fight, and you know, even if it was just like 5 minutes, but like
they did,
you know,
Maybe you were sleeping at that time.
God, did I miss that part? No, I mean like
Alpha Trion puts his hand on the ground and all like the dust comes around him, and they
yeah, I
show
saw that.
the primes, and we had a beacon, and then they go to the beacon, and then they fight, and you see Sentinel Prime kill them all.
Yeah, I saw that part. What I mean is that like I would have liked to see that at the beginning, like, you know, because even though it was like a snapshot of the Quintessons and stuff like that, like I would have liked to understand, because again, from my knowledge of Transformers as a kid, the Quintessons created the Autobots or created the Transformers. So, you know, unless there's a part 2, which I'm assuming there's going to be, I wanted to see more so how the uprising of since we're going all the way back in time, I wanted to see more of the uprising of the Transformers against the Quintessons. That's more so what I meant.
So I don't think in this universe the Quintessons made Transformers, because they said Primus
made the Transformers,
sacrificed himself to make the Transformers, and the first 13 were the Transformers he made, and then I think from them they made all the other ones. That's what I like. I don't like that the Quintessons made Transformers, because that makes all the figures behind me slaves, and I don't like that. So I pretend that doesn't exist, and I actually like this.
I forgot about that aspect, yes.
Yeah, I like this type of reimagining better. And I loved, now that we're talking about Primus, how Primus was this big, and Cybertron was this big, and it had like the extra layers to it. I thought that was really cool, different type of idea to go with. So I really liked that. But yeah, back to your point, I don't think the Quintessons made it. I just think they were there as a plot piece of why Sentinel was stealing all of the what's it called? All of the Energon. And maybe there will be a part 2. I've already heard that a sequel is in the works after this one has been getting good reviews, and I fully expect there to be a sequel. Maybe in that one, we'll learn that all of that was a lie, and the Quintessons did make them.
Yeah, because I just, because then I do want to understand if Primus made the 13 Primes and they made all the Autobots, where did the Quintessons come from? I mean,
it could just be an alien race.
It could be, but again, I'm just trying to figure out, and this is reprogramming what I've thought for 40 years. So that's where this is coming from.
Well, where did they come from originally? They were just an alien race.
They created the Transformers. So that's what I'm saying.
How did they create the Transformers if there's Primus, who's a god?
Well, you didn't get introduced to Primus back then. Primus was something that came, later on.
Okay, I know they showed off a big yellow-headed Primus, and maybe it was the comics. Maybe it's the comics.
It had to be comics. Yeah, it had to be comics.
Because I don't like that. That makes these Transformers not even worth anything, because they're just random robots, which maybe they were probably going for back in 1984.
Yeah. They uprose against their oppressors. So similar to, in essence, how Sentinel Prime was the villain that pissed Megatron off. It's similar, kind of put the Quintessons there. Like, they uprose against the Quintessons and fought back and drove the Quintessons off of Cybertron. And I could see where, Megatron as a gladiator, or, kind of took the team this way, and Optimus as a level-headed, again, how I thought of him, level-headed, wise person who's just like, hey, we can do this the right way. We don't have to repeat history, and we can build a new planet together. I can see how they would split that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's definitely room. And I think they were kind of teasing that the second one is going to be with the Quintessons. Just because, like, they were in it for 2 seconds,
Yeah.
Which I don't know. That is one thing I didn't like, I guess, was their designs. I like the little crab guys, but the tentacly monster man was very alien. So I give him props for what he looked like, but it didn't strike me as what we're used to seeing for those characters. And maybe that's who they send out, and then you go to the home planet, and then there's the judges with the 5 faces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
That's what I was really looking for.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was going to be they were going to be much more involved, and they were going to be fighting them. I thought they were going to be the main bad guys of this movie, but I was wrong. And I'm glad I was wrong. I think this movie went in a different direction. Well, why don't we wrap things up soon, and let's talk about the ending when Megatron rips, what's his name? First, he takes out the Megatronus cog, puts it in himself, which was perfect, and then he does a jazz and rips him in half. And then Optimus comes back, which I think we knew what was going to happen, you know. And they have a battle. What did you think of that fight scene?
Well, the first thing I thought was when Megs shoots Prime, I was just like, gosh, he's even dying here too. You know, and you know, when that happened, the unexpected for me was when Megatron grabbed him and he was falling off the cliff and he grabbed him and he was just like, you know, I'm sick of saving you, and threw him.
Well,
that
threw
me
off. First he was like, why did you do that? What's going on? And then you saw it just snap, and he said, and I think his voice changed, and he's like, I'm tired of always saving you, and just lets him go. Oh, that was really good.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. You know, I thought, again, I was thinking that at this point, maybe, you know, Sentinel, like he was holding on to him, Sentinel Prime comes and, you know,
throws them both
him
off.
to drop. Causes him to drop, you know, Prime, and that happens. I didn't think it was just like bam, you just turned, you know, just like that.
That was the full 180 from what he used.
Yeah, and I rather it. While that was good, I don't know. I thought it was going to be something more dramatic of him changing. It was just like too like. I'm trying to save you. I'm done with you, you know, and throws you off. So
I don't think he was trying to save him. I think it was his gut instinct was to save him. Like he just had to do it, you know, because like most people, you know. And then he realizes, why do I keep you're just dragging this along by? And I actually like that because it shows that he consciously changed. It wasn't his anger. It wasn't Sentinel Prime. It was him saying, I need to do what's right for me, and I can't keep having you with me. And I like that. From you know, that's what I saw it as. But I do see where you're coming from, where it was kind of sudden, but at the same time, it wasn't. He kept, when they first got their cogs, he got mad at Prime. He said, give me that. I'm going to lead. When they fought the High Guard, Decepticon, whatever you want to call him, he did the same thing. So he kept escalating, in my opinion, until he lets go. And when he lets go, it's full Autobots versus Decepticons at that point.
And this is where I'm actually going to go see the movie again because I did miss those 15 minutes, which a lot probably happened in there that, you know, is kind of twisting my opinion a little bit. So fans, I apologize for that. So I will go see it again. But let's
have a wake up Bobby in the comments.
I know, right? But yeah, so that was, so for me, it seemed like I missed the
you might have missed some of what I literally just said.
Yeah, I missed those things. Cause you know, for me, I was just like, okay, you know, everything you were like, you know, whatever, everything Prime did and got him into
you
trouble.
know what? Now that I think about it, you missed that scene when they fought the first time, and then you missed it the second time as well. So yeah, you missed the kind of lead up to that. Yeah,
because you know, every part that I saw where you know, Megatron might get mad at him, something good happened out of it. You know, when they did the race, you know, Megatron was pissed, and then it was like they got to meet Sentinel Prime, and he was like so excited, you know, whatever. So anyway, going back to the question, I thought the fight between Megatron and Sentinel Prime was exactly what I wanted to see, because you know, Sentinel Prime goes into battle mode. He's beating the crap out of, you know, Megatron. Not beating the crap out, but like, you know, he's handling Megatron. Megatron's hands are tied behind his back. He brands him, you know, like all
that
these
was
things.
So good. Thematically, that was amazing.
exactly. It was just like escalating, and you can see like Megs is just festering. Like, I'm not going to bow to you.
And
Whatever.
he keeps snapping.
And yeah, you can
Slowly,
see,
yeah.
yes, all this, all
this
this anger.
movie, like we already touched on it, you really see him snap.
Yeah.
And I like that. Okay, continue.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. So, it was, so when he finally got free, and even, when he got really mad and his gun came out and like it was just like, all right.
He looks at it like, what?
So the fight was really good. When he ripped him in two, I wasn't expecting that. Not at all. I wasn't expecting that at all. I was just like, okay, he's about to throw him off the cliff. He's about to do like Rodimus did to Galvatron in the movie, throw him through Unicron's eye or something like that. When he started doing it, I was like, oh, okay. We're going somewhere with this now. So then when Prime, came out from the center of Primus or Cybertron and kind of came up, I liked the flames, like I liked the way they fought. It was a good battle. It was short, and kind of quick, and I felt like Megatron lost, but he really could have probably kept on going. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a definitive loss.
Yeah, like he was like, okay, we'll continue this next time, type of thing.
Yes.
I thought it was really cool. One part you probably didn't see this, but one part that I thought was really cool was when Prime was fighting just a random soldier, and he's in vehicle mode and he half transforms and then continues transforming to rip him in half and like twist his body. That was really cool. But the fight itself between Megatron and Optimus was really good. I thought it was great choreography. Optimus Prime has some moonlight greatsword with his axe throwing. Like that reminded me. I know you've never played it, but like Dark Souls and Elden Ring with the moonlight greatsword, you could do that, and it's the same color. It's the blue color. So I don't know. That's what I thought of, but it was really cool. Did you stay for after the credits?
I did stay for after the credits.
Okay, that scene was so perfect that Megatron is taking something that was done to him and making it a badge of honor. Loved it. I loved the darkness. I loved all of that. Definitely worth sticking around for.
Yes. I thought it was going to be a longer scene. It happened really fast. I mean, the credits just seemed to go forever. I was just like, all right, get to the point, but and then it was just like, 20 seconds maybe of an end credit. I was like, it was good though. It was very good. Mm-hmm. And it made me, feel like there's going to be a part 2 and, get ready. And to start off with what you said, this is probably the best Transformers movie since the 86 movie.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. In my opinion, none of the Bay movies or past that go up to it, and I can't think of any other Transformers movies that have come out. No. You can tell they had people that actually liked Transformers on this.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not saying they don't like Transformers, but you don't get that feeling from the live action movies. They seem more like Fast and Furious type of movies than they do Transformer movies.
Let's make some explosions and
some alien-looking robots, and let's go. But this one actually felt like people actually cared about it, and I think that's why me and you are both like gushing about some of these parts right now. We didn't do that with Rise of the Beasts. You know what I mean? This one, and I think I forgot to mention this. So my theater was not very full. But people did come in. I actually have a picture of me in a completely empty theater. But people did end up coming in. And what was one of the best parts was there was a lot of kids in that, and seeing how excited the kids got during the action scenes. I've never seen that in any Transformer movie before. Usually people just sit there, watch it, and leave. People were getting into it. Mm-hmm. I've never seen that with any of the Bay movies, or if you want to call Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast part of Bay, whatever. people were actually enjoying it. And I think that's a great thing for the future, honestly. I think we're looking at where Transformers should go, whether it will or not, who knows, but I think just drop all those live action movies and just go with this, because they can't get the live action movies correct, in my opinion.
Well,
I'm sure people will disagree with me.
I completely agree with you, and honestly, typically when they turn animated cartoons or animated movies into, you know, real movies, they don't hold the same feeling, or they don't do as well, in my opinion. I can say with my theater, while it wasn't a sold out theater, but it was pretty well filled. Of course, the ground seats were, I think I saw a few people there, but after the movie ended, when the credits started rolling, people started clapping.
Yeah,
in the theater.
People started clapping when Optimus came out with the Matrix.
Yeah. So this was a movie that people were engaged with, and while there were kids in the theater, there were, older people there. There was a lady and her mom, I'm assuming, sitting next to me. That it was just the two of them. There was two guys sitting in the row above me. So it was a lot of just adults by themselves there as well. Now, while the missus was at work and said that she's not going to go see the movie, I think that she actually would probably enjoy this. And my daughter, again, she fell asleep. We had T-ball in the morning. I'll probably go take her again to go see it.
Yeah. I probably will go see it as well. I have a few other family members. Actually, this was the first time my mom ever said she wanted to see a Transformers movie. Because, wow. And in her defense, she can't really keep up with the action scenes in Bayverse movies, and I don't blame her. Sometimes they look like, a washing machine that you threw against a wall and all the pieces came out. But this time she actually said it looks funny and she wants to see it. So I probably will see it again with her. Yeah. We've been going at this for longer than I intended to, so let's just wrap it up with some final thoughts. I thought this movie was great. It actually makes me excited to see what we have for the future. Hopefully, and another reason why they should be continuing to do these movies, they said it doesn't cost as much as the live action ones. So Hasbro, it's more popular with your fans, it seems like, from what I see. And it's cheaper for you. So there you go. Just do this. But honestly, it's a really good movie. It's the first one that I actually really enjoyed. The other ones were fine if you turn off your brain. This one, you didn't have to turn off your brain to enjoy. And some great characterizations. The voice acting was pretty good. The only one that I thought was a little iffy was Bumblebee. It didn't strike me as a Bumblebee voice. But he did a good job, though. Yeah. Regardless, he did a good job still. It's just not what I think of as Bumblebee. So, yeah, hopefully this movie does well. And we'll be here in, 2-3 years talking about TF2.
Oh, God, that'll be very interesting. No, I can't disagree with anything you said. I think it was good. I'll probably go see it again as well. I do recommend going to check it out. So it was very surprisingly good. And, let us know if you saw it. Let us know, why you want to see it, why you don't want to see it. And I guess that's a wrap for us here.
Yes. So with that being said, go like this video, subscribe, do all of that YouTube shenanigans, and we will see you in the next video with the news.
And actually, next Saturday or Sunday, we'll have details. We will be doing the members only.
Yes. So stay tuned for that, members. You'll be notified.
Yep. As always, till all debates are won, go check out the movie.
I'm like you.